We're officially in the peak season for college football recruiting, and the hype around Nebraska is palpable. Over the last couple months, we've seen multiple 4-star and 5-star prospects visit Lincoln. But in today's video, I'm going to answer the biggest question on the minds of Husker fans all over the country. Will Matt Rhule land a top 10, even a top 15 recruiting class? I'm going to break down why this may or may not happen. I'm going to make some predictions. Who's going to commit, who's going to decommit, and everything else in between. So really quick, we have a jam-packed episode today. Make sure to smash that like button if you're excited about following Nebraska recruiting this summer, along with subscribing to the channel. If you want to stay up to date with everything Nebraska football, Nebraska recruiting, Nebraska rumors, I'm posting every single day about the Huskers this summer, so hit that subscribe button to stay up to date. But without further ado, let's jump right into it, talking about Nebraska football recruiting, specifically Matt Rhule landing a top 10, even a top 15 recruiting class. It's time for Matt Rhule to put his money where his mouth is. We've seen a lot of 4-star and 5-star prospects become interested in the Cornhuskers, take a bunch of visits, official visits even, to Lincoln, but it's time to land them, and let's just dive right into it. So let's talk about what this really means, how you can possibly get a top 10, top 15 recruiting class for Nebraska. Now, in order to get around that range, you need at least 10 4-star commits. As of right now, Nebraska only has only one 4-star commit. Now, with that being said, there is no need to fear if you're a Husker fan, because there's so many prospects who are this close to committing to Nebraska, and they're in 4-star, even 5-star territory. So let's just dive into a bunch of names. We're going to go quick fire style. Guys who I project to be very interested in Nebraska, guys who have about a 30, 40, even a 50% chance of committing. So number one, Antonio Branch, 4-star DB out of Miami. Really just a do-it-all safety. He's very interested in Nebraska. Jamarion Parker, a guy I expect to commit to Nebraska. 4-star running back out of Missouri. Bell cow running back. Just a blue-chip guy. Broderick Shull, 4-star O-lineman out of Oklahoma. He said that it's down to Nebraska and Auburn. About a 50-50 shot there for his talents. Michael Terry, 5-star wide receiver from Texas. We also have Bryson Weber, keeping it with Texas, 4-star corner, who's very interested in Nebraska. Right now, I put our odds about 80% to land him. You're going to the in-state ranks. Christian Jones, number 1 player in Nebraska. Right now, it's either down to us, Oklahoma, or Notre Dame. I like our chances. Chase Loftin, another second-best player in Nebraska, another 4-star prospect, tight end. It's down to us, Florida State, or Kansas State. I like our chances as well, put them about 40, maybe even 50%. Emmanuel Choice, 4-star wide receiver at Texas. TCU, USC, Oklahoma, they're all in the mix for him, but Nebraska really impressed him when he came on a visit. Cortez Mills, another 4-star receiver. Miami and Florida are in the mix, but Nebraska strongly in there. Again, we're going to keep going here. Cade Piertaz, number 1 player in all of North Dakota, plays D-line. We're in the top 4 for him. Kansas State, Minnesota, Wisconsin also in the mix. Dawson Merritt, 3rd best player in all of Kansas, ranked as the 60th best player in the country, 4-star edge rusher. Man, he just loves Lincoln. He's been on campus a couple times. His dad loves Lincoln specifically, and we're getting close to him committing as well. A couple other guys here. Michael Riles just put us in his top 5 schools, top 100 prospect edge rusher. So, man, I just rattled off 12 4-star, 2 of which were 5-star prospects who I believe have a decent chance to commit to Nebraska. Now, all of those guys might not be over 50%. Maybe some are. At least all of them are over 25% chance to actually commit to Nebraska. Those are really good odds. Those are 12 guys I just mentioned. Okay, I didn't even put in some other players who Nebraska's had on visits who I don't even think Nebraska's in the top 25% to land, but the Huskers still could land. Now, the reason why I just said them is because of the 12 guys I just named, I could see at least 6 commit to Nebraska. Just to name a couple, I think Jamarion Parker will be a Cornhusker. I think Antonio Branch will be a Cornhusker. I think Broderick Shull will be a Cornhusker. I think Michael Terry will be a Cornhusker. And I think you put in Christian Jones in there, Chase Loftin, I think we'll get at least one of those guys. I think Bryson Weber will commit. He's a big Nebraska lean. That's 6 right there. And he just add on a couple more. Nebraska's already at 8, 9 4-star prospects. That's great news for Nebraska. That's why I just rattled off. Now, let's talk about some of the guys I didn't even mention, right? There's 3 Polynesian pipeline O-linemen out of Nevada who still have an opportunity to commit to Nebraska. Of the 3 guys I'm about to name, all of them are top 100 recruits. Douglas Utu plays tackle out of Bishop Gorman. Ale Kalan-Uvalu plays guard out of Bishop Gorman. And last but not least, SJ Olu Fate Olu plays center from Bishop Gorman. All of which came on campus for the spring game, all of which are being heavily recruited by Donovan Raiola, and all of which are around that 5-star range. That should get you fired up. Now, I don't think those guys are going to commit to Nebraska, at least not right now. I'd probably put our odds about 10, maybe even 15%. Now, with that being said, Nebraska's still in the mix. And when I add up all 15 of those guys I just mentioned, it looks a lot more realistic for Nebraska to get to a top 15, maybe even a top 10 class. Now, here's the most important thing I'm about to mention. Okay, I just mentioned 15 guys. Okay, there are players that Nebraska is going to have interest in, and they're going to have interest in Nebraska that we haven't even heard of yet. Matt Rhule is very good at flipping recruits. By the time we get to November, December, even January, he's flipping guys to commit to Nebraska last second. There's going to be a couple guys like that. Okay, we saw that last class. We saw that class before. I would not be surprised if Matt Rhule landed or flipped about 2 4-star prospects when we get to November, December, right? Looking at his past, that is not out of the ordinary, okay? So with that being said, I can pretty much project, I think we're going to land about 6, 7 of those 4 stars I just mentioned. Okay, I named a couple that I think we're going to land. We might not land some of the others, and there's going to be a couple surprises in the mix. Okay, with all of that being said, Nebraska will land, in my opinion, about 10, 11 4-stars when this class is all wrapped up, including 1 5-star. Yes, Michael Terry, I believe, will be a Husker. He'll decline Texas and will come over to Lincoln. Now, here's why this is important for Nebraska. There's always people in my comment section who say this. Stars don't matter. Recruiting rankings don't matter. I don't care about how good a player might be in their high school days. I care about a guy who represents Nebraska values and who really has a high character level. And that's important. And I understand that. But I'm going to tell you 2 things. First off, Matt Rhule only recruits guys with high character. That's number 1. Okay, all those guys, as I mentioned, have high character. And number 2, in order to be elite, you need to recruit elite. Okay, everybody wants to talk about Nebraska winning 10, 11 games and even making the college football playoff. In order to be elite, you need to recruit elite. We see this every single year. Okay, who are some of the top 10 programs in all of college football? Oklahoma, they have 5-star prospects. Michigan, they have 5-star prospects. Ole Miss, they have 5-star prospects. They have top 10 classes. Penn State, same deal there. Those are programs that are on the borderline of being a top 10 squad. Maybe besides Michigan, of course, but a top 10 team in the country. And all those guys recruit elite. Okay, we do not. Yeah, we have some good classes here and there. We had about a top 20 class last class, but that's not good enough to be elite. To be elite, you need a top 10. Now, that's why it's important. But here's the silver lining. What this means for Nebraska, okay? And I've said this before. Matt Rhule has always been a great developer. At Temple, he was a great developer. He turned around that program. At Baylor, he was a great developer. He won the Big 12 title. He turned that program around from just absolutely nothing coming off of their last coach to one of the better programs in the country. Now, with that being said, he's never been an elite pro. He's never had an elite program before. He's never had a program competing for a national title. And that's partly because he's never been an elite recruiter. That's changing. You pair his unmatched development to a top 10, even a top 15 recruiting class. We'll take that. You pair those together, you're looking at 11 wins consistently. You're looking at becoming one of the better teams in the country. You're looking at competing for Big Ten titles. It's so hard to compete for Big Ten titles year in and year out, only netting a top 25 class. It's not going to cut it. Matt Rhule understands that. That's why he's trying to take it to the next level. And yeah, he's still going to land prospects here and there who are low 3-star, raw prospects who have high ceilings. But he also understands you need to land those 4-star prospects, even 5-star prospects, because those are gems. Those are blue chips. Those are players who will contribute immediately and have high ceilings. And I'm going to tell you one thing. Man, it is only going to get better for Nebraska because we're only going to continue to get better on the field. We're going to win about 6, 7 games this year, I think. After that, we're probably going to win 8, 9 games in 2025, okay? And after that, we're just going to continue to go up. The recruiting is going to go up. And because of that, Nebraska is going to be unmatched in all of college football. Again, we're just talking about the development a little bit more. There's only 2 programs, in my opinion, who recruit at a high level and develop at a high level as of right now. Okay, that's Michigan and that's Georgia. I excluded Alabama because they have a new head coach, but those two programs every single year, they recruit at a high level and they develop at a high level, and they're winning national titles every single year. Okay, Nebraska could be added to that list if they start to land these top 10 classes. That should get you fired up. So, man, here is my answer. Will Nebraska land a top 10 class? No. I think we will land about a 15, 16, and when it's all said and done, the recruiting rankings. And that's perfectly fine. There's going to be a couple guys who just mentioned who I project that Nebraska lands who probably won't commit to Nebraska, right? They'll pull a shocker. They might decommit. That very well could happen. But I'm going to tell you one thing. Like I just said, Nebraska's recruiting will only get better in the class of 2026. Just imagine how good that's going to be. 2027. Imagine how good that's going to be. You should be fired up about this. So, yes, I think we're going to be around a top 15 class. We're going to land a bunch of quality prospects. We're going to land a lot of 4-stars. And you should be very excited about Nebraska as a Nebraska fan. So, man, let me know in the comment section below. Which prospect I mentioned are you the most excited about? Are you excited about the future of Nebraska recruiting? And, hey, if you made this far in the video, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. And as always, folks, go Big Red, go Matt Rhule, and see you in the next one.